Hey, Dirt Farmer Jay here from dirtfarmerjay.com. Spray paint is a great way to get color, a beautiful finish, if you know how to do it right. Let me walk you through it and I'll show you a few tricks that'll get you the results that you want. Hey, Dirt Farmer Jay here from dirtfarmerjay.com. You've got a project that you want to spray paint, give it a great finish, some beautiful color, pop, or perhaps it's a finish that you're spraying to do a piece of furniture. Well, there's a few things you need to know to get the results that you really want on your project. Let's start with the product itself. Now, we're talking spray paints here, and it doesn't matter if it's Krylon, Valspar, Rust-Oleum. Some general observations. Number one, buy the best paint you can afford. Now, these inexpensive touch-up paints like these are like under $2 up to $3. These are great for quick theatrical prop touch-ups. I remember one project that we were on where we had a black industrial ceiling. We were hanging some light fixtures or theatrical lights, and we needed to touch up the areas that we drilled or chains we put in. This kind of paint's great for that. Nobody ever comes close to it. There's no abrasion on it, and nobody's inspecting it. So this is a good use of that. But for everything else, where it's going to be exposed every day, wear and tear, and in the sight of where other people are going to walk by and see it, go ahead and invest in a little bit more better paint. This paint here runs probably between $5 and $7 a can, depending on where you buy it. Now, when you get a can of paint, the first thing you want to do is shake it really good. And in this case, you can hear the agitator because I've been, and it's a marble, and you shake this for a long time to get all of the pigment, the solvents, the propellant, everything all well mixed together to give you the results you want. Here's a can that's been sitting for a while, and you can hear it. It's not, there it goes, it finally broke loose. And so I'm gonna have to spend some time shaking this, or hand it to somebody that doesn't know any better, to spend some time shaking this for a long time to get it ready to use. So those are a couple of things you've got to keep in mind. Third one is the environment in which you paint. If at all possible, move indoors with good ventilation. Yeah, you can get high from the spray off of these, whether it's lacquer or it's a varnish or it's spray paint, and nobody got time for that. You don't need to do that. Open ventilation, but try not to get too much breeze. You put this outside, and it seems like not only is it hard to direct the spray and get it to land where you want it to, but every insect from miles around decides to visit and land in your freshly painted project. So inside is much better. Next, create an environment where painting makes sense. So if you look here, what we've done is put down masking on our work table because we are going to get overspray. And so if you need to, I actually put a backdrop if we're going to get a little bit of spray going past it. I don't want that all over my project table or all over my floor or other items in the shop. So put down a little bit of protection. If you need a mask, do all that. But in other words, do the prep work that's required, and that'll pay dividends at the end. The next thing to keep in mind is the orientation of the workpiece. If at all possible, paint it flat like this instead of vertical like this. Now, sometimes you're going to have to paint it vertically if it's a large object or it's more convenient to do so, or it's got lots of dimensions on it. And if you're going to paint vertically like this, light coats, multiple coats, will give you the results you want. If you put heavy coats, you're asking for trouble because if you get too much paint, it'll drool or sag and ruin the finish, and you'll be back to scraping it off and starting all over. So if you can, spray horizontally. Now, related to that, when you spray something like this horizontally, and we're just going to spray paint this right here, the edges can really cause a problem because when you spray along the edges and if it pools up, then it can grab onto the masking material in the background and cause a deformity on the edge of the piece. And pieces of MDF and certain lumber products are going to be thirstier. It's going to soak up more finish, whether it's a clear finish or a paint finish, than the flat surface, which seems to be harder milled. So how you overcome that is use some kind of lifting device. And what we're going to do here is just use what's called a painter's point. These are little pyramids. You can buy them as sets. They're very inexpensive. And these are real sharp points that allow you to paint and then flip over and have just points that you can touch later. So when I set that on there, now I have this nice platform with space around the edge. And we're gonna go ahead and paint this. We've shaken this for several minutes here. It's ready to go. And what we're gonna do, here's the next tip. This is really important. You don't aim over the top and start spraying. You always start the spray at the edge or beyond the edge of the object and go past and release. Never start and stop over the object. So it looks like this. I'm gonna start over here, move across. See there? And I'm gonna move across in bands. Notice that I'm painting right before and after, and I get a more even coat across the surface as I go. Now, because it is laid horizontally, if I do have a thick spot, what's gonna happen is the paint's gonna tend to level out, and instead of pooling, it'll end up laying across there. We've got a very nice finish there, nice clean finish. Now, the edges need to be painted as well, and because they're elevated, now I can go along the edge, again, start and stop, before and after, like that, and then go all the way around and get this beautiful finish. And now we'll just cut over here too, reach a little over here. Again, notice my habit. I always start and stop before and after the object. And we're gonna hit it one more time because it sucked it in on the top. And again, because it's laying horizontal, very low chance of any drool. We'll let that dry, and that's gonna be a beautiful piece, very solid. Let's look at what happens when you do spray vertically and how to control that. All right, let's look at doing something vertical. Now, I've tilted this little piece of MDF against a paint can. It's pretty vertical, it's close enough. Let me tell you what not to do and what is a common rookie mistake. Let's move you from being an amateur to professional when it comes to applying these finishes. This is a typical way someone will apply paint. Whether they start in the middle or on the edge, they'll tend to do this arc type of thing, pivoting from the elbow. And so what you're doing is arcing back and forth. Here's the problem. When you're at the arc over here, the nozzle is further away from the piece, here to here. When I arc in, I'm closer, and when I arc to the right, I'm farther away. Meaning as I apply the finish, doing this arc motion, the middle third is gonna get a lot more finish. You're gonna get buildup, and there's where that drool happens again. How do you eliminate that? You don't arc, you move parallel like this. Again, start before, travel across, let go as you exit. Back and forth, going straight, not that, this, back and forth. Also, when it's vertical, don't apply heavy coats, come back multiple times to get the finish you desire. Well, let's go ahead and take it on. We'll take this look at this piece of MDF. Here we go, starting before, off, straight, back and forth. Look for any places that you felt were light, and again, we're just back and forth straight. And I'm gonna quit about right there, because I think we've got enough finish on it. Looking down here, yes, to let it sit and dry for a bit. Now, I want you to notice another thing that happened here, and that is the amount of overspray that does occur and why it really makes a difference to use masking paper to mask. Even that top of that can of paint right there got hit, but having a backdrop to keep this overspray off of everything else. Now, even there, I can see it's flashing and drying off a little bit. You'll see the color or the sheen change. So I'm gonna put a little bit more on it just to even it out. And on this, you have to do the edges up on the top, going at an angle, as we did on the other one. But let's take a look and see what that looks like now that we did that. And you can see here we have this really nice even. There's a couple places that are slightly thinner, but again, a beautiful finish, one to be proud of. Don't use the arc, straight parallel shots. All right, there's a couple other things you should know. Okay, let's talk about painting metal. When you paint metal, the surface is not absorbent, so when you spray paint it, it's not gonna soak any in. Therefore, the paint is going to be more prone to drooling, and so it does take usually multiple light coats to get the finish you require. Again, if you can do it horizontally, much better to do so. Start and stop as you exit off, and then get the coat that you want. One other thing, if you're using a dark paint on a light surface or a light paint on a dark surface, it's especially going to take more coats to get the color to be true and not have any of the base color of the object that you're painting shining through. Well, let's see what we get here. Again, now you know the drill. We're going to start further and in further, and we're going to spray parallel, not arc. So here we go. We're overlapping, overspraying what you've already sprayed on what's called the wet edge. And there we have that direction. Let's go ahead and turn it around this way. So now that I can spray the surfaces that were away from me. And here we go again. And there you go. Beautifully painted. That'll dry and it'll be a beautiful piece for whatever we're making. Perhaps a little birdhouse or something? All right, there's one more thing you should know. Before we go that last tip, hey, check out our website at dirtfarmerj.com for blogs, extended content, special offers, and our merchandise. You can go to dirtfarmerj.com/shop. Check out our hats, our shirts, our coffee mugs. And if you're finding this video to be helpful, why don't you like it? And better yet, subscribe to our channel. And when you do, ring the bell so that you'll be notified every week of the latest episode for the home, the garden, and the shop. All right, back to the tip that we're going to give for the final insight on this. If you're painting raw wood or these types of things, these tend to be very thirsty. So what we're going to do is go ahead and set up our painter's pyramids again. All right, now we've got our elevated workpiece, and we're going to see what happens here. If I spray on the end, it'll thin out in a moment here because it's very thirsty. It's like a lot of little straws. So I'm going to let that go ahead and soak that in. I'm going to come down and spray the other end as well, and then I'll work around the edges. I'm just going to spray again. Notice that parallel spray that's occurring. I'm not going to do the back edge so I don't get between you and the camera here. But again, notice I'm doing the overlapping spray, no arc, all parallel spray. And this looks like it really covered it well, but the reality is, give it a few minutes, and you can actually come up close here. You'll see that it's already sucking in the paint in the knots and where the wild grain is. So this will not be the finished coat, and the end is thinned out where you can see it sucked in the paint. So we're gonna let this all seal up before we give it a second and perhaps a third coat to get the desired results. Hey, and if you like this, here's another video you should check out where we did a really great metal flagpole, our DIY flagpole, to put out the flag on the 4th of July or other special events for other special occasions. Check it out right there. And then also check out this other video that we've created that we and YouTube thinks is perfect for you. So how we do. Until the next time, this is Dirt Farmer Jay from dirtfarmerj.com.